Hello and welcome to my first ever drawing process video. In this video I am drawing Manuel Calavera from Grimfandango. Now what I tend to do before I'm drawing anything in Photoshop, I tend to sketch it out first on paper and pencil. As you can see from the start there, I didn't quite draw the feet in right. That's because sometimes I draw the image and I get a bit too carried away and then I never get enough room on the page to finish certain bits of the drawing, so I have to go into Photoshop and just add that on. What I tend to do is I tend to start with 3 layers. The first layer is the sketch itself. Then I do another layer, which becomes the page layer, and then I draw. I use the paint bucket tool to make that white, and that becomes a page. That's so I can lower the opacity of the sketch, so then I can actually see it like quite faint, but not too much to obstruct the drawing I'm about to draw. And then I have a third layer, which goes on top of the guide layer, and that becomes my line art. And that's when I'm now, as you can see there, I'm drawing on top of that layer, not on the guide layer. And as you can see just then, sometimes when I'm drawing the sketch, especially in cases like this where it was just sort of like a little drawing to sort of get me worked up to start doing a project I was working on, just to get like a warm-up. Sometimes I don't really like what I've done, and I have to edit it quickly in Photoshop, just like resizing hands and stuff like that. I don't tend to like doing that because I want to try and use my natural ability as opposed to using the computer all the time to resize things, but it does happen, especially in this situation, like I said, when I'm actually just drawing it for a bit of fun very quickly. Okay, as you can see there, I've now got another layer open, which is my detail layer. What I do then, that's basically like the line art layer, but I lower the opacity to 50, and that's just extra details like marks on coats and stuff like that. Stuff that you want to see there, but you don't want it obstructing the rest of the drawing, so I tend to just put that in there. Sometimes you can only re-notice it when you look at a digital version as opposed to when it's printed, but still I do it anyway. As you can see, I also just opened, I just missed that, but I opened a shading layer. Now all that is obviously what you'd expect, is the shading part, so it's just the shadow. What I tend to do with that is it's just literally a black pen, like I was using for the line, but I make it a bigger brush, and then I lower the opacity to about 20 to 30, it depends what the drawing is. Like this one I think is on about 24. Okay, I just opened another layer, shading 2, and again that's just the same as the shading layer, but this goes on top of the first shading layer, and that becomes the parts where I can't shade them because they've already been obstructed by the shadow, but I decided to put some more extra detail in. Okay, now I'm opening a colour layer and working through the colour. Or at least I was, and then of course I had to, I deleted that layer and started working on a new one. However, I went back to the line layer and decided to draw, colour in the trousers. Normally I wouldn't do this because normally I would just go for a really dark grey as opposed to just filling in the line art, but in this case I did because it kind of worked with the style of the character's trousers and stuff, so I thought it'd be better for them to just be jet black, so I stuck with that. However, I will approach a colour layer in just a sec. Also, before I forget, the brush I'm using is from a chap called Kyle T. Webster. It's called Sexy Sumi. His brushes are all available to pay whatever you like over on his website, and I'll leave a link in the description below. Okay, so I'm about to open a colour layer. Now normally if this is a full colour drawing, obviously I'd use a variety of colours, but in this case I'm not really being that fussy about colours. I'm just putting one dark grey down. That's only because it's a grayscale sort of drawing. I'm going to just basically use the blending options tool. So as you'll see in just a second, the colour I'm using right now is not the final flat colour. Now I'm just about to use the blending options. Now what I'll be doing is adding an ink texture that I've been working on for the webcomic. Now these ink textures, all they are just me using brush strokes and slapping like ink onto like traditional paper, then scanning them in, and then I incorporate them into the colour layers. And I lower the opacity and add colours and stuff like that, so you get this sort of like white tone that you've got here, but still with the brush strokes from the texture. Also, apologies, for some bizarre reason I couldn't screen capture the window, the blending options window, so I can't really show you what I did, but yeah, if you go in the blending options, you'll see exactly what I mean. Also with the smoke there, I literally just did a normal line like I do with line art, but made the brush bigger, and then I just lowered the opacity again. And so with the floor, it's just literally what I normally do with line art, except this time it's on a separate layer. Same with the shading, that's also on a separate layer. It's just so I can work out how the floor should look in the drawing, so best way to incorporate it. And there you have it, that's how I drew Manuel Calavera from Grimfandango. For those of you who've played the game, you'll notice that it is slightly different from the original character design. That's because I've sort of used my own spin on it, it's my own art style. And I've sort of gone for a skeletal look as opposed to the Day of the Dead painted on look, although I've obviously used elements from that. For those of you who haven't played the game, highly recommend playing it. Just recently played it myself and I have fallen in love with it. It's a very good game. So thanks for watching. I'm Ben Allen, animator, illustrator and graphic designer. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. And while you're here, why don't you subscribe to my channel? And if you liked my work and would like to check out more, I'm on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram and Behance. I'm Ben Acillin on all of those. And obviously, if there's any criticism or comments you want to make, please just leave them in the comment section down below. I'm willing to learn, so if there's a better way of doing something that I was doing in the video, you know, to make it a bit easier for me, please just, yeah, put it down in the comments. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.